how's it going there, everybody? Good to see you again. This is Samuel Fisher from Green Dispensary Marketing. Excited to talk with you guys with another dispensary owner in the industry. This is Mike, she's the owner of Fountain Organics in Colorado Springs. He's here to share some advice for other entrepreneurs in the industry, as well as some updates on the latest trends in the cannabis industry. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Samuel. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it's sure nice to talk with you. I have some questions about you personally as an entrepreneur. I would love to hear more about your personal journey as an entrepreneur. Could you start off by telling me a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur and how you got into the cannabis industry?
Well, strangely enough, I actually, many, many years ago, I'm an old dude, got my degree in college at in Indiana University in small business and entrepreneurship. So this has been a lifelong journey. My wife and I, 25 years ago, opened up a non-cannabis business and as a bootstrap, and we grew that and recently actually just sold that business last year. And so we've been bootstrappers, and being a bootstrapper is not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. It takes a certain mindset. My wife Denise and I are pretty good at it at this point, and so when we applied those skills to cannabis, we decided to draw upon what we already knew, and cannabis is no different than any other business. It's got its unique challenges, the federal illegality, some of the many other things that happen, specific to cannabis, but still it's a business. You've got a balance sheet, you got an income statement, you're creating a company culture, you've got a team, and that doesn't change. And, for any kind of business. And so applying the fundamentals of our business experience and knowledge to cannabis is just an automatic thing that we do, and that's so that's something that is important. I think that everybody should take into account. Don't get into a business because you really like it. You like to do it. Scuba diving, for example, I wouldn't be a scuba diving instructor. I love to scuba dive, but you need to apply the same business fundamentals to whatever business you decide that you're going to engage in.
Awesome. Great information. You mentioned bootstrapping, and that's a strategy that you have implemented. And so this is, I would imagine, one of the biggest points of fear for many people who are jumping into the industry is just kind of worrying in the back of their mind about the overhead costs that'll pile up. What advice would you give to those people who are a little bit worried about spending their whole entire bank account on a failed business? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think the statistics are that within 5 years, 50% of businesses fail. I could be a little off on that, but a large number. And I think probably the one most important thing that any entrepreneur needs to do is to create a realistic budget of what is going to be spent over a certain period of time. Going back to 25 years ago, we knew that business was going to take us about 5 to 6 years before it was going to become profitable. We had another revenue stream that we were able to be able to apply to the costs of this business and that business. And but budgeting for in a very realistic way, budgeting for what the cash burn is going to be. Obviously, you start with zero revenue, and eventually, when you hit that break-even point, you have a party, and life gets a lot better. But that your cash burn is going to decrease over time as revenue increases. Uh, and then typically, not only does revenue increase, but your fixed costs are going to increase too as things go. But as your revenue continues to increase, your fixed costs don't keep up with that in most businesses, so having a realistic understanding of what your cash burn rate is going to be, how long it's going to take you before you are neutral on your cash flow is absolutely critical.
Awesome. Very, very insightful information. Outside of cash flow and money issues, what would you say are the biggest struggles that you face as an entrepreneur in the cannabis industry?
Well, the fact that it is restricted to be a state by state legal system, and obviously we can't cross borders. That in itself. The corollary to that is that you can't really, you've got challenges in the federal banking system. So obviously we can't take credit cards. And anything that is going to go through the federal banking system causes a great deal of scrutiny. And there are banks out there who specialize in compliance, the know your customer kinds of issues. They so banking, if there would be one major thing that would help a lot is to solve the Safe Banking Act, and it continues to get stalled in at the federal level, but and I would submit that the Safe Banking Act is as much as anything, it's a public safety thing. Why have all these dispensaries handling all this cash? And when checks and credit cards would make that the public safety piece of it, much safer. So you got the federal illegality, and you've got the myriad of state regulations. Those are unique to this industry that other industries don't have. And then finally, I'd say the fact that it's a Schedule I drug, and which means that the 280E tax penalty applies to a cannabis dispensary. And so your effective tax rate is significantly higher than any other business in this country.
Yeah. Also, great information. Um, Kind of moving on to the next topic a little bit. If you were a new entrepreneur, if you were starting from square one today, you just secured your funding, you're ready to go. What do you think is the best place in the cannabis industry to jump into, whether it be owning a dispensary, starting a cannabis seed company? Um, what would you say? What would you say would be the first place you were to go, you would go right now if you were starting from day one?
That all depends upon the state. For example, the last thing you want to do in Colorado is get into cultivation. The abundance of product, the availability, the supply over the last couple of years has outstripped demand, and therefore there's been a significant price reduction at the wholesale level, for cultivators. And so really understand where any state that you're going to look at going into, you need to understand where it is on that, on the growth curve. For example, you've got new states coming online. Ohio recently legalized. You've got different states with different regulatory arrangements. An example of that being a state that has not managed it very well is Oklahoma. It's impossible to make money, and it's medical only in Oklahoma. Because of the thousands of licenses they issued, without regard to the supply and demand question. Other states have been much more proactive in understanding that there is a balance there, and and it can't be a free for all. And so I think really to understand the best answer to that question is to understand where the state you're looking at is, what their regulatory framework is, and how they plan on managing the number of licensees, and where it is on the growth curve, and what and frankly, what states adjoin it that do not have legal cannabis, because there is always the border effect. Illinois saw some incredible sales when they went state legal 2 years ago, maybe even longer, three maybe by now. And with Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, none of the adjoining states, Wisconsin, none of the adjoining states, have, adult use legal. So all of the consumers would drive to Illinois, and they really benefited from it. So it's really on a state by state basis.
Huh, very interesting, especially the insights about Oklahoma. I've also seen recently that in California, they're starting to lessen the number of permits that they're giving out. I don't know if it is to necessarily stop having so much competition or what exactly the idea is, but I've also noticed that a lot of stores are failing in California. That's the first thing I'll mention is this higher competition. Specifically for Colorado, is this something that you envision becoming a problem, just increasing competition to the point where it cripples business owners like yourself, or what do you see on your end?
Well, I think Colorado's a little, here again, going back to knowing your regulatory framework, Colorado's a little bit different because you get licensed by the state, but much of what happens in your market, and we all know the market is, a few miles around you, or the city that you're in, is regulated by the local jurisdiction. In the case of many cities in Colorado, they're medical only. And even though it's a state, it's adult use, state legal, and so and the state allows many local jurisdictions, cities, to opt out. And Colorado Springs is the biggest example of that. The second largest city in Colorado has opted out of adult use and only allows for medical. And so, yeah, I think the challenge is always to understand where you are in your local jurisdiction competitive situation. And for example, a number of large players in Colorado Springs have recently closed their dispensaries because of the number of Colorado Springs has too many dispensaries open for the demand.
Oh, very interesting insights. But let's change topics a little bit. And so you obviously have a lot of experience standing out as a dispensary. You've made it in a city where, as you just said, there's a lot of competition. Keeping that in mind, what do you think are the best ways to stand out as a dispensary? What would you recommend?
Well, we went the route of high end. We're in a Class A retail location at the intersection of Stetson Hills and Powers in Colorado Springs, and that is a higher end retail location. And we don't. Our nearest competitors is 3 miles away. So those are two things that help. We've also decided to be a large store. We're called Fountain Superstore, and so we carry a full line of edibles, a full line of flower at different price points. We carry accessories, and we become known for our selection and quality of concentrates, and wax shatter, butter batter, rosin, resin, all the different flavors, and at different price points as well. We want to be a full service so that when somebody walks in, they are going to be able to find what they want and at a fair price.
Yeah, so to summarize, I think focusing on quality is a way to stand out. I think that's a good idea. I think a lot of people can kind of see if the product quality is cheap, and if so, they'll be happy to pay more at another dispensary across town, honestly. Moving on a little bit, what do you think are the best ways to market your dispensary and get new customers?
This is the most difficult part of this industry. We are restricted from access to all of the normal platforms. No Facebook, no Instagram, and Twitter, but Twitter doesn't really work with cannabis very well. And there's restrictions on text programs and managing that. So we believe and our patients respond very well to our rewards program. And so every purchase goes towards future discounts or free product. And so and they're really we're kind of advertising that is not specifically targeted to be shown only to adults over 21. So there's a lot of things about this that this industry that make it more difficult. SEO is a good strategy. So when people are searching for you, you want them to find you over somebody else, and so that's a good investment. And texting programs and rewards programs are some of the very few ways to be able to market this in this industry.
Yeah, to follow up on that, a lot of dispensary owners will focus, or will essentially give their whole marketing budget to weed maps. What would you say to them?
Weed maps Weed maps will tell you that 80% of the people on their platform are looking for the lowest price. Well, that's not us, and those customers that are only looking for the lowest price are not repeat customers. They are not loyal. They'll drive 15 minutes to go to save $3. So that's not the kind of place that we are. And so weed maps is a very expensive way. They certainly are well known in the industry. We have a presence on weed maps, but that's really what it is. People can pre-order off of our menu on weed maps. And so we maintain that. We do focus resources on weed maps, but nothing in the premium. We don't spend anything for super sale items. And it's a presence that we need to maintain, but that it's not something that we consider investing any additional marketing or advertising dollars in.
Oh, interesting. A couple more questions for you, and then we can wrap this up. And so we were just discussing marketing strategies. And so as a dispensary owner, I would imagine, or I'm sure, that data points are a big factor in how you determine what's working, what's not working. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so what are your favorite data points to reference for KPIs or key performance indicators? What data points
Yeah.
do you reference the most?
Well, the very first thing when you walk in the store and we check you in, the red card or anyway, we're asking, how did you find out about us? And to understand those kinds of trends, that's the very first thing, that we want to know, so that we know where to invest. If we get a lot of people coming in saying, my cousin, said this is the place to shop. Well, who's your cousin's name? Because we want to reward them. Nothing better than word of mouth. Well, I was driving by and I saw your sign. Okay. Uh, you know, all the there's about six different ways that people find us, and sometimes they say, well, we found you on weed maps and you were the nearest to my house. Okay, great, but we want to know those things. We also we keep very close track using our point of sale system on the kinds of purchases that they make, and we train our consultants. We don't call them bud tenders; we call them consultants because this is a medical dispensary. We train them to check their purchase history and personalize that a little bit and say, okay, what did you think of the Super Bubba concentrate that you bought here 10 days ago? So there's a lot of ways that you can engage with a patient and make that a buying experience better. But it is all about keeping track of your KPIs. We think that the I guess understanding what our customers are buying, how they respond. One of the things that we do every day is we try to take one, and this is part of our marketing budget. We try to take one item and let it be the cheapest price in town. And so we're investing dollars into reducing the cost of that item. And we want to see how that performs. So we measure that very, very carefully. If we're going to invest money into reducing the price of that one item, is it bringing people into the store? And are they coming in to buy that? And then also, are they buying something else when they're there? We feel that being known that when we put something on sale, it's the cheapest in town. We want people to know that, but we're measuring the performance of every item that we put on sale, and we want to understand how that has impacted that day's sales, and what kind of ROI do we get on that.
Yeah, so it looks like you have a lot of different data points, which is awesome. Um, Finally, one more question for you. A lot of people watching this, or many people watching this, listening to this, might be new dispensary owners or people thinking about jumping into the cannabis industry. Maybe they had success in another industry, built up a bank account, or maybe secured some investing or secured some funding. Um, and they're probably listening to you thinking, wow, this guy's got a lot figured out. I want to be kind of just like him. What advice would you give to these people that are listening that also want to own a dispensary, also want to have some success in this industry? What would be the best point of advice you have for them?
Well, it goes back to, I think, what we talked about earlier, Samuel. The understanding your market and really having a good sense of what the regulators can make and break you, and what the regulatory arrangement is for where you want to locate, is absolutely critical. We also think that engaging with the community is very, very important. This industry still has a stigma, but when they see Coats for Kid Drive, when they see a dispensary, taking one of the highway sections and cleaning it up on a regular basis, those are the kinds of things that will continue to, improve the image of this industry. And so, don't forget to, reach out, engage with your industry and engage with your community as an industry. Work with some of the, find ways to work with some of the other, people in the industry on engagement. And then find ways to at the end of the day also you should take pride in having an excellent work culture. You get to um, uh, uh, give people a paycheck at the end of their week, and that's as an entrepreneur, that should be a motivation for you. And how do you make that day to day culture as rewarding as possible for people that can choose to go work somewhere else? That it's not easy, but it's if you find that to be rewarding, I think you'll go a long way toward having the right attitude to make it successful, not only in a dispensary but in really any small business.
Awesome. Well, that's lots of insightful information, lots of useful information for those listening. Mike's actually got to go. We've used up his time slot. He's a busy man. He needs to get out of here. Um, but thank you so much for talking with us. Maybe we could schedule another interview later on. So you raised actually a lot more questions throughout the course of this interview, but I do want to respect your time. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for having me as a client. Definitely appreciate that. Um, yeah,
Well,
so we
we appreciate what you're doing and your professionalism, Samuel. So happy to jump on this with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Just for anybody who wants to look him up, you can find him on Google by searching Fountain Superstore, or just going into your URL and typing in ftain.org. And he's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It's Fountain Organics, Fountain Superstore. This is Mike Shadowman. Good to talk with you, Mike. Have a great day. Looking forward to talking with you soon.
Thanks, Samuel.